The shuttle window vibrated against Liam Cade's forehead, a rhythmic buzzing that did little to drown out the ringing in his ears. Outside, against the backdrop of the star-flecked void, the radiant paradox hung like a captured moon. It did not look like a ship built by human hands. It lacked the jagged utilitarian edges of Earth's destroyers or the blocky armored bulk of the station Aegis 4 rotating below it. The Valyri flagship was a seamless, pearlescent tear in the fabric of space, shimmering with a biological iridescence that shifted from deep violet to bruised gold as it idled. To the politicians back on Earth, the ship was a symbol of the new armistice, a beacon of the fragile peace treaty signed 6 months ago. To Liam, it looked like a predator waiting to unhinge its jaw. He adjusted the collar of his dress uniform. It felt like a noose. The fabric was too stiff, the metals on his chest too heavy. He was a man built for kinetic armor and mud, not polyester and diplomacy. The scar running from his left temple down to his jawline itched, a phantom sensation that always flared up when he was near Valyri technology. "You should be grateful," the reassignment orders had said. Lieutenant Commander Liam Cade, hero of the Ares sector, pulled off the line and given a soft posting, ceremonial duty, a reward for 10 years of hell. Liam let out a breath that fogged the shuttle glass. He closed his eyes, and for a second, the silence of the shuttle was replaced by the screaming of metal. Flashback. The memory hit him with the force of a physical blow. He was back in the trench on Cinder 9. The sky was the color of a hematoma, choked with smoke. The air tasted of copper and ozone. Sergeant Miller was screaming something, but the audio was blown out, muffled by the concussive roar of the artillery. Then the mist came. It was not smoke. It was the Valyri bioweapon, a creeping emerald fog that moved with a sentient hunger. "Masks on," Liam had shouted, but his voice was swallowed by the panic. He watched the mist roll over the edge of the trench. It did not burn like fire. It dissolved. He saw Miller's armor begin to fuse with his skin, the molecular bonds undoing themselves in seconds. The man did not just die, he was unmade. The Valyri technology did not distinguish between steel and flesh. It simply consumed. Liam had fired his pulse rifle blindly into the fog, screaming in rage, watching his squad melt into the mud. Their screams cut short as their lungs turned to liquid. He had been the only one to make it to the extraction point. Half of his face burned by the caustic edge of the cloud, dragging the weight of 12 ghosts with him. Present. Liam snapped his eyes open, his heart hammering a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He forced his hand to unclench from the armrest. The shuttle was docking. The metallic thud of the clamps engaging echoed through the cabin. He was not on Cinder 9. He was at peace. A peace bought with the ashes of his friends. The airlock hissed open, revealing the pristine white docking bay of the Joint Orbital Station. A waiting delegation of human officers stood at rigid attention. At their head was Admiral Vance, a man whose uniform was so pressed it looked sharp enough to cut skin. "Commander Cade," Vance said, stepping forward. His voice was clipped, devoid of warmth. "You are late." "My apologies, Admiral," Liam said, stepping off the shuttle. His boots rang loudly on the deck plates. "I was admiring the view." "It is a big ship. It is our future," Vance said. He gestured for Liam to walk with him. The entourage fell in step behind them. "We have a schedule to keep. The Valyri High Command is waiting in the station's grand hall. This is a historic day. Liam, do not screw it up." Liam suppressed a scoff. "I am just here to shake some hands and smile for the cameras, right? Show them the scarred veteran can play nice with the squids." Vance stopped walking. He turned to face Liam, his expression hardening. The term is Valerie, Commander. And no, you are not here just to shake hands. You read the briefing on the Unity Protocol? I skimmed it. Liam admitted, exchange of officers, joint command structures, integration of fleets. Vance stared at him for a long moment. It is more than just officers. Liam, the Valyri are a matriarchal dynastic society. Politics and lineage are everything to them. They do not trust contracts signed on paper. They trust blood. They trust family. To seal this treaty, to ensure they do not turn that warship out there into a weapon against us. We agreed to their terms of binding. Binding? Liam asked, a cold feeling settling in his stomach. We selected 20 officers, Vance said. High honors. Genetic compatibility. Psychological profiles that suggest resilience. You are the highest-ranking candidate among them. Candidate for what? Liam demanded. Marriage, Vance said. Liam blinked. He waited for the punchline. When Vance did not smile, Liam let out a sharp, barking laugh. You have got to be kidding me. This is a joke. Some kind of hazing for the new guy? You are to be bonded to High Commander Saraya Valir, Vance continued, his voice overriding Liam's incredulity. She is the daughter of the Valyri Emperor. It is a political union, a symbol. I am not marrying a squid, Liam snapped, his volume rising. I spent 10 years killing them. They spent 10 years melting my friends. You cannot order me to do this. I can, and I have, Vance said, stepping closer, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. This is not a request, Commander. This is a deployment. If this alliance fails, the war starts again, and next time, humanity does not survive. You will walk into that hall. You will accept the bond, and you will serve your species. Do you understand me? Liam stared at the Admiral. The anger in his chest was a hot, solid weight, but beneath it was the cold logic of a soldier. He knew the stats. Earth's fleet was decimated. If the Valyri attacked again, it was over. Yes, sir, Liam ground out through clenched teeth. Good, Vance said, smoothing his jacket. Fix your tie. You are about to meet your bride. The grand hall of the station had been retrofitted for the occasion. Half of it was decorated in human austere military fashion. Flags, steel, harsh lighting. The other half was draped in Valyri aesthetics, shimmering silk-like fabrics that defied gravity, floating orbs of soft light, and the faint, sweet scent of ozone and crushed flowers. Liam stood on the dais, feeling like a prize animal at a county fair. Across from him stood the Valyri delegation. They were tall, slender, and terrifyingly elegant. Their skin was pale, almost translucent, with veins of bioluminescent light pulsing beneath the surface in complex geometric patterns. Then, she stepped forward. High Commander Saraya Valir was taller than Liam by 2 inches. She wore a uniform that seemed to be grown rather than sewn, a carapace of white and gold that hugged her form. Her skin was the color of moonlight, and the markings running down her neck and vanishing into her collar glowed a soft, rhythmic blue. Her hair was a cascade of silver strands that moved slightly on their own, as if caught in an underwater current. But it was her eyes that stopped Liam's breath. They were large, lacking whites, swirling with nebulas of violet and indigo. They were alien, unreadable, and sharp as broken glass. She stopped in front of him. Up close, the energy radiating off her made the hair on his arms stand up. Commander Cade, she said. Her voice was melodic but carried an undertone of steel. She spoke Earth Standard with a perfect, crisp accent. Commander Valir, Liam replied, his voice rougher than he intended. She did not smile. She looked at him as one might look at a malfunctioning piece of equipment she had been tasked to repair. The Valyria official beside her, a spindly creature in robes, stepped forward holding a silver sphere. "The right of union requires the neural clasp," the official intoned. "Protocol," Soraya said to Liam, her eyes never leaving his face. "Give me your hand." Liam hesitated for a fraction of a second, then reached out. Her hand was cool and dry. As their palms touched, the silver sphere hovered between their wrists, dissolving into a stream of light that wrapped around their joined hands. Pain, sharp and electric, shot up Liam's arm. He gasped, his knees buckling, but Soraya's grip tightened, holding him upright. For a second, the world vanished. Thump, thump. He felt a heartbeat, not his own. It was slower, more powerful, echoing inside his skull. He felt a flash of cold, blue intellect, a sensation of immense pressure, and a wall of icy discipline. He was feeling her. She was in his head. Then, just as quickly, the sensation receded, leaving a dull throb at the base of his skull. The light faded. On his wrist, a faint, glowing, intricate pattern now mirrored the one on hers. "The contract is sealed," Soraya announced to the room. She turned to the crowd, raising their joined hands, her voice projected without a microphone, resonating off the walls. "Under Imperial law and Earth Federation treaty, Liam Cade is now my kin. He is my blood. He is my husband." The word hung in the air, heavy and absurd. Liam pulled his hand back as soon as she loosened her grip. He rubbed his wrist, staring at the glowing mark. "Legally binding," Soraya said, her voice dropping so only he could hear. "Do not look so terrified, Commander. I am not going to eat you." "I would not bet on it," Liam muttered. "We are done here," Soraya said, turning away from the applause of the diplomats. "Gather your things. Husband, we board the Radiant Paradox within the hour." The transition from the station to the alien flagship was a journey into a different universe. Liam was escorted to a prep room on the Valerie ship by a cheerful alien attendant named Talo. Talo was smaller than Soraya, his bioluminescence flickering in cheerful shades of pink and orange. "This is your ceremonial combat weave," Talo chirped, holding up a garment that looked less like armor and more like a torture device made of glass and spider webs. Liam stared at it. "That is not a uniform. That is lingerie." "It is traditional," Talo insisted, thrusting it into Liam's hands. "In Valyri culture, the bondmate must show vulnerability to the elements to prove their resolve. It enhances your reflexes by exposing your skin to the atmospheric sensors of the ship." "It exposes my kidneys to sniper fire," Liam countered, holding up a piece that looked like a codpiece made of spun sugar. Talo giggled, a sound like wind chimes. "Oh, Commander, marital resolve is the best shield. Besides, High Commander Soraya finds the aesthetic pleasing. It symbolizes your submission to the greater harmony of the Union." "Tell the High Commander that my submission involves wearing pants," Liam said, tossing the garment back onto the bench. "I am wearing my dress blacks. If she wants me in that, she can court-martial me." Talo looked disappointed, his lights dimming to a sad gray. "Very well. But the neural sync will be less efficient without the skin contact." "I will live with the lag," Liam said. He walked out of the prep room, tugging his tunic straight. He met Soraya in the corridor. She was no longer in her ceremonial whites, but in a sleek, dark command suit that shimmered like oil. She looked him up and down, noting his human uniform. "You rejected the weave," she noted. Her tone was neutral, but he swore he felt a flicker of amusement through the headache that the neural link had left behind. "I prefer to keep my dignity intact," Liam said. "Dignity is a human construct," Soraya said, turning on her heel. Follow me. I will show you your new station. The tour of the Radiant Paradox did nothing to settle Liam's nerves. The ship was alive, literally. The corridors were not metal. They were formed from a calcified organic resin that felt warm to the touch. When Soraya spoke commands, the walls rippled, opening doors or adjusting lighting like a massive, obedient animal. This is the central gravity well, Soraya said, gesturing to a massive vertical shaft where crew members floated between decks in beams of amber light. And this, she pointed to a pulsating chamber at the center of the engineering deck, is the core. It was a massive heart. That was the only word for it. A suspended organ of light and matter, beating with a slow, rhythmic thrum that vibrated in Liam's teeth. It is biological? Liam asked, staring at it. It is biosynthetic, Soraya corrected. It grows, it learns, it feels the crew. Now that you are bonded to me, the ship will recognize your biosignature. It will not digest you if you enter a restricted area. That is comforting, Liam said dryly. They ended the tour in front of a large oval door made of swirling opalescent material. These are the High Commander's quarters, Soraya said. Okay, Liam said. Where are mine? Soraya looked at him, her violet eyes blinking once. The Treaty of Unity specifies that bonded pairs must cohabitate to reinforce the neural link. Separation causes feedback, painful feedback. You have got to be kidding me, Liam said, for the second time that day. We are sharing a room. We are sharing a life, Commander, Soraya said, or at least the appearance of one. She waved her hand, and the door dissolved into mist, allowing them to enter. The quarters were spacious, bathed in low, soothing light. There was a desk, a meditation mat, and a large raised platform with a single sleeping surface. It was vast, easily big enough for 4 people, but it was still one bed. Liam stood in the center of the room, feeling trapped. The door mist solidified behind them. Soraya walked to the desk and tapped a console. A holographic display flared to life. I have duties to attend to, she said, her back to him. Do not touch anything. The room is attuned to my psychic imprint. If you try to access the weapons locker, it will stun you. I will try to restrain myself, Liam said. He walked over to the viewport. It was a single massive pane of transparency looking out into the void. His wrist unit beeped. It was a priority channel override. Admiral Vance? Liam tapped his earpiece, turning away from Soraya. Go ahead. Vance's voice was a whisper in his ear. You are in? I am in, Liam said softly. Good. Your primary objective is surveillance. We need to know the capabilities of that ship, Cade. The Valyri have been hiding their fleet movements in the out sectors. Find out who she talks to. Find out what that ship can really do. You want me to spy on my wife, Liam stated flatly. I want you to be a soldier, Vance said. Do not forget whose side you are on. Son, do not let the pretty lights fool you. The line clicked dead, across the room. Soraya froze. A sensory node behind her ear chimed softly. She raised a hand to it, her eyes narrowing. Speak, she commanded in her native tongue, the vowels rolling and clicking. The voice of High Advisor Kalen filtered directly into her auditory nerve. Daughter of the throne. The human is in place? He is, Soraya replied subvocally. He is a weapon, Kalen warned, a broken one, perhaps, but dangerous. The humans do not send a warrior of his reputation to be a simple consort. Test him. Push him. If he shows signs of treachery, or if he attempts to access the core protocols, neutralize him. I understand, Soraya thought back. And the bond? Use it, Kalen hissed. Peel his mind open. See what he is hiding. Soraya cut the connection. She stood still for a moment, composing her features. When she turned around, Liam was watching her. The silence in the room was thick enough to choke on. So, Liam said, leaning against the viewport, crossing his arms. I guess this is the part where we play house. There is no play, Soraya said, walking toward the sleeping platform. She began to undo the clasps of her command armor. The plates hissed as they detached, floating over to a rack on the wall. Underneath, she wore a simple skin-tight bodysuit of gray fabric. Liam averted his eyes, looking back out at the stars. We should set some ground rules, Liam said. Agreed, Soraya said. She sat on the edge of the large bed. Rule 1, you do not speak to me on the bridge unless spoken to. Rule 2, you do not enter my meditation circle. Rule 3, we maintain a professional distance. Professional distance, Liam repeated. In a shared bedroom? It is a large bed, Soraya said coolly. Stay on your side, and you will remain unharmed. Liam walked over to the platform. He sat on the far edge, as far from her as possible without falling off. The mattress, if it could be called that, conformed instantly to his body shape. It felt like floating on gel. Comfortable, he admitted grudgingly. Soraya did not answer. She was looking at a data pad that she had pulled from her discarded armor. Her brow furrowed. The bioluminescent markings on her neck flared a brighter blue, a sign of distress or intense focus. What is it? Liam asked, watching her reaction. Soraya hesitated. She should not show him. He was the enemy. But the report on the screen was troubling. A Valyri supply ship, the Void Strider, had suffered a catastrophic engine failure 3 sectors away. It was another bonded ship, carrying a human consort. The report was heavily redacted. Black bars covered the casualty list. But the cause of the explosion was listed as unknown internal sabotage. Nothing, Soraya said, snapping the pad off. Routine logistics. She lay back, the lights in the room dimming automatically to a twilight hue. Liam lay back as well, staring up at the ceiling, which mimicked the star field outside. He could hear her breathing. He could feel the faint, ghostly echo of her emotions through the neural link, a buzzing static of anxiety and suspicion that was not his own. He closed his eyes, but sleep felt a million light years away. He was lying next to a woman who could kill him with a thought, on a ship that could eat him, under orders to betray the only person within 1 billion miles who was literally connected to his nervous system. Soraya lay still, her eyes open, watching the back of Liam's head. She could feel his jagged, scarred memories pressing against the mental barrier she had erected. She felt his resentment. She felt his grief. And beneath it all, she felt a burning curiosity that matched her own. This is going to be a long war, Liam whispered into the dark. It is a marriage, Soraya corrected softly, her voice drifting across the space between them. Same thing, Liam said. Silence reclaimed the room, leaving them both alone with the stars and the hum of the alien heart beating beneath the floor. The weapon in Liam Cade's hands did not feel like a gun. It felt like a severed limb that was still twitching. You are fighting the interface. Soraya's voice cut through the humidity of the training deck. She stood 10 feet away, arms crossed, her command suit shimmering under the harsh simulation lights. The biolink requires consent. Liam, you cannot pull a trigger that does not exist. You must will the plasma to discharge. Liam looked down at the Valyri assault rifle. It was a sleek, curved carapace of dark chitin, warm to the touch. Veins of blue light pulsed along its barrel, syncing with the rhythm of his own heartbeat, a feature of the damned neural bond that currently made him want to tear his own skin off. "I prefer a mechanical trigger," Liam grunted, raising the weapon again. "Something that does not have an opinion." "Mechanisms jam," Soraya countered, stepping closer. "The living weapon adapts. Try again. Visualize the target. Do not just look at it, hate it." Liam stared at the holographic drone hovering downrange. He tried to summon the cold, professional aggression that had kept him alive on Cinder 9. He felt the weapon vibrate, the chitin plates shifting against his palm like a cat arching its back. The neural link in his wrist flared hot. Bang! A bolt of azure plasma shrieked from the barrel, missing the drone by a foot and scorching the bulkhead. "Pathetic," Soraya noted, though her tone lacked real malice. "You are thinking like a human. You are trying to dominate the weapon. You must partner with it. It is a marriage of intent and capability." "Everything with your people is a marriage," Liam muttered, safing the weapon, or at least thinking safe until the lights on the barrel dimmed. "Is breakfast a marriage of hunger and food? Is taking a shower a marriage of dirt and water?" "Do not be reductive," Soraya said, taking the weapon from him. Her fingers brushed his, and a spark of static electricity, or perhaps just the bond, jumped between them. "And for the record, we view cleansing as a harmonization with the elements." "So, yes." Liam wiped sweat from his forehead. It had been 2 weeks since the wedding. 2 weeks of integrated duty on the Radiant Paradox. 2 weeks of sleeping in the same room as a woman who could technically order him to his death. Listening to her breathe, feeling the ghost of her dreams ripple through his mind just before he woke up. "Schedule update," the ship's AI announced, its voice a melodious thrum that seemed to vibrate from the floorboards. "Medical evaluation required for Bond Pair Alpha. Proceed to Medbay 4. Liam groaned. "I had a physical 3 days ago. I am fine. My cholesterol is perfect." "It is a compatibility scan," Soraya said, her bioluminescent markings flickering a soft, irritated violet. "Standard protocol for the Alliance archives, to ensure the bond is not rejecting our physiologies." "Great," Liam said, following her out of the training deck. "More probing." Medbay 4 was less a hospital and more a cathedral of biology. Walls of amber fluid held suspended organs that were being grown for transplant. The air smelled of antiseptic and ozone. 2 Vellery medics, tall and spindly with multi-jointed fingers, awaited them. They motioned for Liam and Soraya to sit on biobeds that molded instantly to their shapes. "Neural sync is stable," the lead medic chirped, reading a holographic display that projected from his own retina. "Hormonal resonance is chaotic." The medic turned his large, unblinking eyes toward Liam. "The human male exhibits elevated cortisol, stress, also significant repression of libido." Liam choked on air. "Excuse me?" "It is inefficient," the medic continued, tapping the air as he adjusted the data. "The bond thrives on exchange. You are blocking the natural flow of attraction. It causes synaptic friction. We recommend immediate consummation to alleviate the headache you are currently hiding." Liam's face went hot. He refused to look at Soraya. "I do not have a headache." "You do," Soraya said quietly, staring straight ahead. "I can feel it." "And the female," the medic turned to Soraya, oblivious to the tension. "Reproductive readiness is high, but blocked by command protocols. Your biomarkings indicate frustration. We can prescribe a suppressant, or you can simply utilize the male. His genetic material is compatible enough for recreational bonding, if not viable offspring." "That is enough," Soraya said, standing up abruptly. The markings on her neck were glowing a furious, vivid pink, a color Liam had not seen before. "The scan is complete. We are leaving." "But High Commander," the medic protested, "the pelvic rigidity in the human is—" "We are leaving," Soraya barked. She marched out of the medical bay. Liam followed, walking fast to keep up, fighting the urge to laugh hysterically. He caught up to her in the corridor. "Pelvic rigidity?" he whispered. "Do not speak," Soraya hissed, though he could feel a wave of mortification radiating from her mental side of the bond. It felt like heat rash. "I just want to know if utilize the male is a standard order, or if I should be worried." Liam teased, enjoying the rare moment where she was the one off balance. She spun on him, her eyes flashing. "It is a medical term, Liam. It lacks nuance, and you should not be laughing. You are the one radiating repressed libido loudly enough to disturb the sensors." Liam stopped smiling. The air between them suddenly felt very thin. "I am a soldier in a strange territory. Soraya, repression is a survival strategy." "Is that all this is to you?" she asked, her voice dropping. "Territory?" Before he could answer, the ship's klaxons gave a low, mournful wail. The lighting in the corridor shifted from soft white to amber alert status. "Priority signal," Soraya said, the embarrassment instantly replaced by command focus. She tapped her ear. "Report. Distress beacon detected." The bridge officer's voice filtered through. "Sector 7-9. It is a derelict. Station Chimera." Liam froze. He knew that name. "Chimera? That is an old Earth black site. It was supposed to be scuttled 5 years ago." "It seems it was not," Soraya said. She looked at him, and the warmth was gone, replaced by the icy calculation of a high commander. "Prepare a shuttle. Commander Cade. We are going in, just you and me." Liam narrowed his eyes. "Standard procedure dictates a squad for a boarding action." "Standard procedure does not apply to ghosts," Soraya said. "And my orders come from the throne. I need to see how you handle your own ghosts." "Liam, consider it a test." The shuttle ride was silent. The Chimera station drifted in the shadow of a gas giant, a twisted skeleton of metal and venting plasma. It looked like a carcass that had been picked clean by void sharks. Liam piloted the shuttle manually, distrusting the automated docking clamps on a station this old. He could feel Soraya watching him, not just with her eyes, but with that invasive, prickly sensation at the base of his skull. She was waiting for him to hesitate. She was waiting for him to warn someone. "Atmosphere is toxic," Liam said, reading the sensors as they locked onto the airlock. "Life support is failing. Gravity is intermittent." "Helmets on," Soraya ordered. She tapped her collar, and a translucent membrane flowed upward from her suit, sealing her face in a bubble of air. Liam pulled on his standard-issue rebreather, the heavy rubber seal comforting against his jaw. They breached the airlock with weapons drawn. The interior of the station was a graveyard. Floating debris, coffee cups, data pads, frozen droplets of coolant drifted through the corridor. The emergency lighting flickered with a strobe-like intensity, casting long, jumping shadows. "Scan for life signs," Soraya whispered. "Negative on thermal," Liam said, checking his wrist comp. "But I am getting something. Energy spikes. Strange ones. It looks like biological feedback." They moved deeper, toward the central command hub. The silence was heavy, broken only by the hiss of their respirators. "Why bring me?" Liam asked, keeping his rifle trained on the dark corners. "If you do not trust me, why bring me to a human black site?" "Because if there is treachery here, you will recognize it," Soraya said. And because if you betray me, I need to be close enough to end you. Romantic, Liam muttered. They reached the central lab. The doors had been blasted open from the inside. Liam stepped through and stopped. The room was not empty. It was filled with a silver, shimmering fog. It hung in the air like suspended mercury, undulating slowly. "What is that?" Soraya asked, stepping up beside him. "I do not know," Liam said, but his gut clenched. "Back up. Soraya, back up." The fog shifted. It sensed them. Suddenly, the cloud coalesced, rushing forward with the sound of 1,000 whispering voices. "Nanites!" Liam yelled. "Move!" He shoved Soraya back into the corridor, firing a suppression burst into the cloud. The plasma bolt passed harmlessly through the mist, which swirled and reformed, turning from silver to an angry, bruising purple. "It is not attacking!" Soraya gasped, checking her readings as they sprinted back down the hall. "It is scanning! It is reading the bond!" The fog surged after them, faster than gravity should allow. It was not just a weapon. It was a hunter. "It is tracking the dual biosignature," Liam realized. "It thinks we are raw material." They hit a gravity well that was malfunctioning. The floor dropped away, sending them tumbling into 0G. Liam grabbed a handhold, swinging his legs around to catch Soraya as she drifted past. He gripped her forearm, pulling her close. The nanite cloud poured over the edge of the well, a waterfall of liquid metal. "We cannot outrun it in 0G, Soraya shouted. "We do not have to," Liam said. He saw a blast door 10 meters down the shaft. "We just have to get behind that." He kicked off the wall, dragging Soraya with him. They floated through the vacuum of the shaft, the silver death nipping at their heels. The nanites brushed against Liam's boot, and he felt a searing, icy pain that shot straight up his leg. Not a burn, but a violation. He felt the machine trying to rewrite his cells. "It is in me," he screamed, his mental barriers dropping. Soraya felt it too. Through the bond, she felt his agony and the cold, mathematical intrusion of the nanites. "Focus on me," she commanded, her voice echoing in his head. "Liam, look at me." She grabbed his face with both hands, staring into his eyes as they drifted. She flooded the bond with her own psionic strength, a wall of mental white fire to push back the intruder. They slammed into the ledge of the blast door. Liam punched the manual override. The heavy steel door slammed shut just as the fog crashed against it with the sound of hail on a tin roof. They lay on the metal grating, panting, their limbs tangled together. Liam was shaking. The pain in his leg was receding, but the psychological violation remained. It wanted to fuse us," Liam whispered, horrified. "Did you feel that? It wanted to stitch us together." "Old war tech," Soraya said, her voice trembling. "An experiment. To create soldiers that could not be separated. It failed." She looked at him. Her helmet membrane retracted. "You saved me. You could have left me to it." "I am stuck with you, remember?" Liam rasped, sitting up and wincing. "Till death do us part." "Let us hope not today," she said. She reached out and touched the spot on his leg where the nanites had grazed him. Her hand glowed with a soft, healing light. "We need decontamination, immediately. If even one microscopic replicator remains, it will consume the radiant paradox." The decontamination chamber on the radiant paradox was a stark, white cylinder. "Strip," Soraya ordered. There was no seduction in the word. It was a tactical command. Liam stripped off his armor, his undersuit, down to his skin. Soraya did the same, her movements efficient and devoid of shame. Standing naked before her, Liam felt incredibly vulnerable, not just because of the nudity, but because the scars on his chest and back, souvenirs from the war against her people, were on full display. Soraya's body was flawless, luminous, but covered in the complex geography of her bioluminescence. Initiate biopurge, level 5, Soraya commanded the room. Warning, the computer stated, level 5 is painful. Do it. Beams of high-frequency ultraviolet light and sonic resonance emitters blasted them. It felt like being scrubbed with steel wool on the inside of his veins. Liam gritted his teeth, a groan escaping his throat. Soraya gasped, her back arching. The pain was blinding. Because of the bond, the sensation was doubled. He felt his own pain, and he felt hers. It created a feedback loop of agony that threatened to knock them unconscious. "Hold on to something," Liam yelled over the roar of the emitters. Soraya stumbled blindly toward him. He caught her, skin against skin, wet, shivering, terrified contact. As they embraced, the feedback loop shifted. The pain became bearable because it was shared. But beneath the pain, other things flowed across the bridge. Liam felt her fear, not the cool, collected fear of a commander, but the terrified panic of a young woman who was under immense pressure to be perfect, who was lonely, who was terrified she was leading her people to ruin. Soraya felt his grief. She saw the faces of the men who died in the mist. She felt the heavy, crushing weight of his survivors' guilt. She realized for the first time that his cynicism was not arrogance. It was a shield to keep from breaking apart. The machine cycled down. The lights dimmed. They stood there, dripping wet, clutching each other, their hearts beating in a perfect, thunderous unison. Thump, 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 thump. They pulled apart slowly. The silence was deafening. Soraya looked at him, her eyes wide, her pupils dilated. She had seen his soul. He had seen hers. There were no secrets in a level 5 purge. You grieve for them, she whispered. The ones we killed. Every day, Liam said hoarsely. I did not know, she said. I thought you hated us because you were taught to. I did not know it was personal. Everything is personal, Liam said. He stepped back, grabbing a towel from the dispenser. He needed to cover up. The intimacy was too much. It was more intense than sex. It was raw exposure. Back in their quarters, the atmosphere was suffocating. Liam paced by the viewport, wearing fresh fatigue pants and a t-shirt. Soraya sat on the edge of the bed, wearing a silk robe, combing her wet hair. Her hand shook slightly. The neural bond was humming. It had not settled down since the purge. Every time Liam looked at her, he felt a jolt of attraction so strong it made his teeth ache. It was confusion. It was adrenaline. It was the fact that she was undeniably beautiful, and he had just held her naked body while surviving a death trap. Stop pacing, Soraya said. You are projecting anxiety like a beacon. I cannot help it, Liam snapped. Whatever that was in the decon chamber, messed with the settings. It removed the barriers, Soraya said. She stood up, putting the comb down. Liam, look at me. I am looking at the stars, he said, refusing to turn. It is safer. You are hiding, she accused. You have been hiding since the ceremony. You treat me like a jailer, like a monster. I treat you like my commanding officer, Liam argued, spinning around. Because that is what you are. I am your wife, Soraya shouted, the control finally snapping. She stepped toward him, the bioluminescence on her skin flaring bright enough to cast shadows in the room. Her eyes were searching his face, desperate and angry. I feel you, Liam, she said, her voice trembling. I feel your desire. It is burning you up. But you wall it off. You treat me like I am repugnant because of my species. That is not it, Liam said, backing up until he hit the desk. Then prove it, she challenged. She stepped into his personal space. The scent of her, ozone and wildflowers, filled his head. She looked up at him, her expression crumbling from imperious command to something raw and pleading. "I am your wife," she repeated, her voice cracking, hovering between an order and a beg. "Touch me now. Satisfy the bond. End this distance." Liam froze. The command hung in the air. "Touch me now." His body screamed to obey. Every instinct, biological and enhanced by the bond, told him to grab her, to kiss her, to lose himself in the connection. It would be easy. It would feel good. It was what the treaty wanted, what the medics wanted. But the memories of the war, of being a soldier who followed orders to kill, surged up, and the orders from Vance, use her, exploit her. If he touched her now, under orders, hers or the treaty's, he was just a tool, and she was just a conquest. He looked at her trembling hands. She looked terrified that he would reject her, and terrified that he would accept. Slowly, deliberately. Liam reached out. He did not grab her. He took her hands in his thumbs running gently over the glowing, intricate patterns on her wrists. "No," he said softly. Soraya flinched as if he had struck her. "You refuse." "I refuse to do this as a duty," Liam said, his voice firm but quiet. "And I refuse to do it as a command. You are not my commander in this room, Soraya, and I am not a piece of equipment you can just switch on." He stepped closer, not letting go of her hands. "I want you. You can feel that. I am not hiding that anymore. But I will not touch you because a piece of paper or a biomedic told me to. When it happens, if it happens, it is going to be because we both choose it. Not the treaty. Us." Soraya stared at him. The rejection transformed into understanding. She felt the truth of his words through the bond. He was giving her agency, not taking it. Her shoulders slumped. The angry flare of her light softened to a gentle, pulsing blue. "You are a stubborn man. Liam Cade," she whispered. "So I have been told," he said. He raised one hand, brushing a stray lock of silver hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered on her cheek. Soraya leaned into his touch, her eyes fluttering shut, the air charged with electricity. They drifted closer. The argument had burned away the awkwardness, leaving only the magnetic pull. Liam tilted his head. Soraya parted her lips. Whoop, whoop, whoop. The ship-wide red alert shattered the moment like a hammer through glass. "General quarters," the AI bellowed. "Battle station, this is not a drill." They sprang apart. The soldier took over instantly. "Report!" Soraya shouted at the room's comms unit. "High Commander!" The tactical officer's voice was frantic. "Patrol Vanguard has been destroyed in Sector 9. Total loss of life." "Cause?" Soraya demanded, already reaching for her armor. "Preliminary scans show heavy torpedo impact." The officer hesitated. "Source signature matches. Earth Federation Class A destroyers." Liam went cold. "That is impossible. No Earth ships are in that sector." "The data is confirmed, sir," the officer said. Soraya looked at Liam. The softness of the previous moment was gone, sealed away behind the mask of war. "Gear up," she said. "We have a briefing, and you had better hope your people have a good explanation." The briefing room was a shark tank. Admiral Vance was on the holographic screen, larger than life, his face purple with rage. Across the table, Sub-Commander Krell, Soraya's second-in-command, was practically vibrating with hostility. "This was an unprovoked attack." Krell slammed a fist on the table. "The telemetry is clear. Human magnetic signatures on the warheads." "Forged," Vance shouted back. "We have no ships in range. This is a Valyri false flag to justify breaking the treaty." "Why would we destroy our own ship?" Soraya asked, her voice calm but tight. She stood at the head of the table, Liam at her right hand. To purge the loyalists, Vance accused. The vanguard was captained by a moderate. Convenient that he is dead. Watch your tone, Admiral, Soraya warned. The evidence is too perfect. Liam spoke up. The room went silent. Human junior officers stared at him. Valerie officers glared. Explain, Soraya said, looking at him. The magnetic signatures, Liam said, pulling up the data on the central table. They are clean, too clean. In a real detonation, the isotope decay is messy. These readings match the textbook simulation of an Earth torpedo exactly. It is like someone copy-pasted the code from a manual. You are defending the enemy? Krell hissed. You are trying to confuse the data to protect your fleet. I am defending the truth, Liam said, meeting the alien's gaze. And I am defending us. If Earth wanted to break the treaty, we would not attack a patrol boat. We would target the radiant paradox. This was a lure. Someone wants us fighting. He has a point, Soraya said slowly. The strategic value of the target is negligible. This is treason, Krell muttered. Trusting the human pet over your own sensors. That is enough. Sub-Commander, Soraya snapped. Commander Cade is part of this command structure. His analysis stands until disproven. Dismissed. The room cleared, leaving a wake of toxic tension. Soraya turned to the screen. Admiral Vance, we will investigate the wreckage. Until then, hold your fire. You are on thin ice, Cade, Vance said, staring directly at Liam before the transmission cut. As the door closed, Soraya slumped slightly. Krell lingered at the door. A word. High Commander, Krell said. He did not look at Liam. Soraya nodded to Liam. Wait in the corridor. Liam stepped out, but the door did not seal perfectly. He heard the hiss of Krell's voice. You let the human influence your judgment. Soraya, the Council watches, other commanders who became sentimental about their pets met unfortunate ends. Do not let his bed warmth cloud your duty. My duty is to the Empire. Soraya's voice was steel. Get out! Liam leaned against the wall, his stomach churning. His wrist unit buzzed. A text-only message from Vance. Good performance. She trusts you now. Use that. Get me the access codes to their sensor grid tonight. Exploit the connection. We need to know if they are blinding us. Liam stared at the message. Exploit the connection. The door opened. Soraya stepped out. She looked exhausted. Let us go back to quarters, she said. I am tired, Liam. They walked back in silence. Inside the room, the lights were low. The earlier intimacy, the near kiss, felt like a memory from a different life. The political reality had crashed down between them like a blast door. Soraya went to her meditation mat, sitting with her back to him. Liam sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the blank wall. He could feel her through the bond. She felt isolated, surrounded by subordinates who doubted her and enemies who wanted to frame her. She felt like a failure. And she could feel him. She could feel the weight of Vance's order in his mind, the pressure to betray her, the sickening feeling of being used. Neither of them spoke. They sat back to back, separated by 10 feet of air and a galaxy of politics. United only by the terrifying realization that they were the only two people on the ship who were actually telling the truth. And they were both completely alone. Liam closed his eyes and, for the first time, pushed a deliberate thought across the bond, a small mental wave of reassurance. I am here. He felt Soraya pause, a hesitation, then a faint, fragile echo came back. I know. The stars outside spun on, cold and indifferent. The radiant paradox cut through the veil of Osiris like a silver needle through bruised silk. The nebula was a chaotic masterpiece of ionization and dust, washing the ship's viewports in shifting tides of violet, sulfur yellow, and deep, arterial crimson. On the bridge, the mood was deceptively calm. "Your navigation computers are twitchy," Liam noted, leaning against the tactical console. He was not wearing his armor today, just the standard fatigue uniform that still felt too light against his skin. "The computers are sensitive to gravimetric shear," Soraya corrected without looking up from her command interface. "Unlike human navigational systems, which I believe operate on the principle of point the nose and pray." "It is called calculated risk," Liam said, "and it got us to the moon in a tin can." "We saw that tin can in your museum," Soraya said. A corner of her mouth twitched upward. "My engineers thought it was a torture device for prisoners." A ripple of amusement went through the bridge crew. It was a small thing, but significant. 2 weeks ago, the Valyri officers would have stiffened at a human speaking so casually to the High Commander. Now, they just monitored the shields. Liam watched her. The bioluminescent markings on her neck were a calm, steady azure. The neural bond, which had been a screaming siren in his head for the first few days, had settled into a low, background hum. It was like hearing a radio playing in the next room. He could not make out the words. But he knew the song. They had spent the last 3 days in transit to Station Concordia, a neutral diplomatic hub where the expanded alliance treaty was to be signed. They were the show ponies, the proof of concept. Look, they have not killed each other yet. Peace is possible. Later that evening, in the sanctuary of their shared quarters, the performance dropped away. Liam sat on the edge of the oversized bed, unlacing his boots. Soraya stood by the fabricator, ordering 2 cups of a hot, mossy tea that she insisted was good for synaptic recovery. "We need rules," Liam said suddenly. Soraya turned, handing him a cup. "We have regulations." "Liam." "Not military regulations," Liam said. "Marriage regulations. If we are going to do this, if we are going to walk into that station and smile for the cameras while half the galaxy waits for us to implode, we need a demilitarized zone. Right here. In this room." Soraya took a sip of her tea, watching him over the rim. "Propose your terms." "Rule 1, Liam said, holding up a finger. "Honesty, absolute honesty inside these 4 walls. If you are angry, say it. If you are suspicious, say it. No political doublespeak." "Acceptable," Soraya nodded. "Rule 2, no using the bond to manipulate emotions. If I am feeling fear, you do not use it to gain tactical advantage in an argument." "Deal," Liam said. "And if I am feeling whatever I am feeling, you do not analyze it like a biology experiment." "Agreed," Soraya said. She sat down next to him, close enough that their knees brushed. The contact sent a warm, comfortable spark through the link. "Rule 3, we are a united front. Out there, on the bridge, in the station, we do not contradict each other. If I fall, you catch me. If you stumble, I hold you up." "That sounds like standard combat doctrine," Liam pointed out. "It is," Soraya said softly. "Marriage is just combat by other means, is it not?" Liam laughed, a genuine sound that surprised him. "You have been reading human literature. I have been trying to understand why your people tie fabric nooses around your necks for formal events." She teased. "It seems suicidal." "It is called a tie, Soraya, and it is fashion. It is a chokehold waiting to happen," she countered. For a moment, just a moment, The war felt very far away. They were just two tired soldiers sharing bad tea in a room that smelled of ozone and soap. Liam felt a wave of warmth from her, not the bond's projection, but genuine affection. He let his own guard down, letting her feel his gratitude. It was a mistake to get comfortable. The next morning, the reality of their situation arrived in the form of an encrypted data packet. Liam was in the auxiliary gym, working a punching bag until his knuckles were raw. His data pad, secured with triple redundant human encryption, chimed. It was a priority burst from Admiral Vance. Eyes only. Liam wiped sweat from his eyes and thumbed the biometric scanner. The file opened. It was a contingency operational order stamped with the highest classification level of Earth Command. Subject: Operation Clean Slate. Target: High Commander Soraya Velier. Trigger: Compromise of Alliance security or defection of assets. Liam read the text, his blood turning to ice. It was a kill order. A detailed dossier on how to neutralize Soraya using her own biology against her, exploiting the neural link to induce a massive cerebral hemorrhage. It was not a defensive plan. It was an assassination protocol, designed to be executed by him. Attached, override codes for Valeri personal shielding, uploaded to your wrist unit. Liam stared at the screen. Vance had not just given him a plan, he had given him the weapon. He felt sick. He looked down at his wrist, where the bonding mark glowed faintly. If he used these codes, he could kill her in seconds, across the ship, in her private meditation chamber. Soraya was staring at a similar horror. She had intercepted a fragmented transmission on the Valeri wideband frequency. It was using an old Imperial cipher, one used by the Praetorian Guard during the height of the war. The purity of the throne must be maintained, the human stain. Concordia will be the pyre. Separate the head from the body. It was a plot. A faction within her own people, perhaps even within her father's court, was planning to strike at the summit. They viewed her marriage not as a sacrifice, but as pollution. She shut off the display, her hands trembling. She reached out with her mind, instinctively seeking Liam. She felt him in the gym. She felt a spike of sharp, jagged guilt radiating from him, followed by a wall of iron resolve clamping down on it. He is hiding something, she thought, but so was she. Station Concordia was a jewel of neutrality, a spinning torus of glass and white steel orbiting a dead moon. It was meant to look hopeful. To Liam, it looked like a target. They arrived in a shuttle flanked by fighter wings from both fleets. The docking bay was swarming with press drones and diplomats. "Ready?" Liam asked, offering his arm. He was wearing his dress whites, the high collar scratching his neck. "Do I look ready?" Soraya asked. She looked devastating. She wore a ceremonial gown of liquid silver that adhered to Valeri modesty standards while managing to look incredibly dangerous. Her bioluminescence had been dusted with a shimmering powder that made her glow ethereal gold. "You look like you are going to conquer the station," Liam said, "not sign a treaty." "Good," Soraya said. She took his arm. Her grip was tight, her fingers digging into his bicep. "Stay close, husband. I have a bad feeling about this." "Me too," Liam murmured. They walked down the ramp into the flash of cameras. The reception was held in the station's observation dome, a cavernous room with a ceiling made entirely of transparent aluminum, offering a panoramic view of the nebula. It was crowded with the elite of two species. Human admirals clinked glasses with Valeri matriarchs. It was a surreal cocktail party at the end of the world. Liam played the part. He smiled. He nodded. He placed a possessive, protective hand on Soraya's lower back, feeling the tension in her spine. "Admiral Holloway," Soraya said, greeting a portly human woman with 4 stars on her collar. It is an honor. The honor is ours. High Commander. Holloway beamed, though her eyes flicked nervously to Liam. You two make quite the pair. The bond seems strong. It is efficient, Soraya said smoothly. It is intense, Liam added, forcing a grin. You get used to the noise. Soraya squeezed his mind through the link. Focus. I am picking up aggressive pheromones. From who? Liam thought back, scanning the crowd. Everyone, Soraya replied. The music swelled, a discordant mix of human strings and Valeri harmonic chimes. Waiters circulated with trays of drinks. Liam's eyes locked onto a waiter near the edge of the crowd. The being was a Valeri male, head bowed, moving with the fluid grace typical of his kind. But his hand was rigid beneath the serving tray. Left flank. Liam projected, 9 o'clock. The server. Soraya did not turn her head. I see him. His biorhythm is elevated, heart rate 200. Is that normal for you guys? Only if he is sprinting, Soraya replied. Or about to kill. The server reached into his robe. It was not a weapon he pulled, it was a small, spherical device. A jammer. Suddenly the lights flickered, the music warped and died. Get down, Liam roared. He did not think. He moved. The neural bond screamed a warning a split second before the laser sight appeared. A red dot materialized on Soraya's chest, right over her heart. Liam tackled her. He slammed into her with the force of a linebacker, driving her sideways to the polished floor. They hit the ground hard, sliding across the marble. Thrum crack. The sniper's shot sounded like a thunderclap in the enclosed space. A bolt of superheated plasma tore through the space where Soraya had been standing a microsecond before. It struck Admiral Holloway. The human admiral's chest vanished in a spray of vaporized fabric and flesh. She collapsed without a sound. Chaos erupted, the screams filled the air. Diplomats scrambled for cover, overturning tables. Valeri guards drew energy staves. Human Marines raised rifles. They are shooting, someone screamed. The Valeri are shooting! Hold fire, Liam shouted, rolling to his knees and shielding Soraya with his body. It is a third party. Hold fire! Soraya was already moving. She tapped her wrist unit, and a shimmering hard light shield sprang up around them. The shooter is on the gantry, she yelled, pointing to the maintenance catwalks 30 feet above the crowd. Liam, scanning link, now! Liam accepted the data handshake, his vision overlaid with Soraya's enhanced optical processing. The world turned into wireframes and heat signatures. He saw the sniper, a cloaked figure running along the catwalk. I am on him, Liam said. He grabbed a pulse pistol from a fallen guard. Cover me! Go, Soraya commanded. She rose, extending her hands. The ambient moisture in the air coalesced at her will, freezing into razor-sharp shards of ice that she flung toward the catwalk, suppressing the sniper's return fire. Liam sprinted through the panic. He leaped onto a banquet table, used it as a springboard, and caught the ladder leading to the gantry. He moved with a speed that felt unnatural, his reflexes sharpened by the adrenaline pumping through the bond. He hit the catwalk, rolling. The sniper turned, raising a long-barreled energy rifle. Liam fired. His shot took the sniper in the shoulder, spinning him around. The assassin stumbled but did not fall. He dropped the rifle and pulled a jagged, vibrating knife. Liam closed the distance. He parried the knife thrust with his forearm guard, driving a knee into the assassin's gut. It felt like hitting concrete. Hybrid, Liam realized. The assassin's skin tore, revealing metallic weave underneath. The assassin roared, a sound that was half digital, and threw Liam back. He was strong, cybernetically enhanced. He raised the knife for a killing blow. Suddenly a drone buzzed past Liam's ear. It was one of Soraya's personal recon units. It slammed into the assassin's face, detonating a flashbang charge. The assassin reeled, blinded. Liam swept his legs, knocking him down. Before the cyborg could recover, Soraya was there. She had scaled the ladder with impossible grace, her gown torn to allow movement. She planted a boot on the assassin's chest and aimed her hand at his head. Her bioluminescence flared blinding white. "Do not kill him," Liam shouted. "We need him alive." Soraya hesitated, her hand trembling with lethal energy. The rage coming off her was a physical wave of heat. She wanted blood. She wanted to burn the threat that had almost killed them. "Soraya," Liam's voice boomed in her mind. "He is the proof." She lowered her hand. "Bind him." 30 minutes later, the ballroom was a secure crime scene. Admiral Holloway's body had been covered. The station was on lockdown. Liam and Soraya were in a reinforced interrogation cell, watching through one-way glass as the station's security chief stripped the armor off the assassin. "He is a chimera," Liam said, his voice hollow. "Look at the tech." The assassin was a grotesque fusion. Valeri neural fibers were woven into human cybernetics. His weapon was a slurry of both technologies. "He was not working for the Empire," Soraya said quietly. "And he was not working for Earth." "He was working for both," Liam corrected, "or rather the extremists in both." The security chief walked out of the cell, looking pale. He handed a data pad to Liam. "Commander, we cracked his encrypted comms log. You need to see this." Liam scrolled through the data. It was a transaction ledger, payments made from a shell corporation on Earth, authorization codes provided by a high-ranking Valeri noble house. "They pooled their resources," Liam whispered. "Human money, Valeri access codes. They hired him to take the shot." "Who?" Soraya demanded. "The payment originated from the Ares cartel," Liam said. "Human arms manufacturers." "And the codes?" Soraya asked. Liam looked at her. He did not want to say it. "The codes came from House Valir," he said. "Your father's inner circle." Soraya stepped back, her face draining of color. "That is impossible. My father signed the treaty." "Your father might have," Liam said. "But someone close to him wants it to fail." A pounding on the door interrupted them. "Open up!" It was Colonel Riker, Vance's field commander. "Commander Cade, you are ordered to hand over the prisoner and the Valeri National immediately. We have reason to believe this was a Valeri coup attempt." From the other side of the corridor, another voice shouted. "High Commander Soraya, the Imperial Guard demands custody of the human. He is a suspect in the assassination of Admiral Holloway." "They are spinning it," Liam realized. "Both sides are spinning it. The humans are blaming you for Holloway. The Valeri are blaming me for the security breach." "If we go out there," Soraya said, "they will separate us. They will bury this evidence." "Then we do not go out," Liam said. He slammed his hand on the door controls, engaging the magnetic locks. "We are in lockdown." "Liam," Soraya said, turning to him, "we are trapped." "We have the intel," Liam said, holding up the data pad. "We just need to decrypt the rest of the file to get the names." They sat at the small metal table in the center of the room. The air was stale. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind a jagged, raw exhaustion. Liam plugged the pad into the room's isolated terminal. "Okay, let us see who really paid for this bullet." The decryption program ran. Files began to unspool. And then, the screen froze. A secondary file popped up. It was not from the assassin's drive. It was from Liam's own wrist unit, which had synced with the terminal. The Operation Clean Slate file. Soraya stared at the screen. Her eyes scanned the text. "Kill order. Neural hemorrhage. Target Soraya Veller." She went very still. Liam scrambled to close it. "Soraya, wait!" You have a kill switch, she said. Her voice was terrifyingly calm. It is a contingency, Liam pleaded. I did not ask for it. Vance sent it to me this morning. You have the codes, she said, looking at him. Her eyes were wide, swirling with a storm of violet emotion. You have had them all day. While we were walking in, while you were holding my arm. I did not use them, Liam shouted. I saved you. I took a bullet for you. Well, I tried to. You saved me because I am the mission, Soraya yelled back, the bond flaring with a spike of betrayal so sharp Liam winced. I am just an asset to you. Do not talk to me about assets, Liam countered, anger rising to meet hers. He tapped the screen, bringing up the assassin's logs. Look at this. The Valeri codes. Your people were testing me too, were they not? Admit it. Soraya stood up, knocking her chair back. Yes. My father's advisor told me to watch you, to see if you were weak, to see if I should neutralize you before you became a threat. So we are both assassins, Liam spat. We are just waiting for the order. I defied them, Soraya screamed. The lights in the room flickered in time with her rage. I brought you here. I trusted you with my back, and you are carrying a weapon in your head designed to melt my brain. I did not ask for this war. Soraya, neither did I, but you are the one holding the gun. They stood chest to chest, breathing heavily. The anger was palpable, a physical heat between them. But beneath the anger, amplified 1,000 times by the neural bond, was something else. Fear. Liam felt her terror. She was not afraid of dying. She was afraid that he would be the one to do it. She was afraid because she had started to love him, and that made the betrayal unbearable. Soraya felt his panic. He was terrified that he was exactly what Vance said he was, a broken weapon. He was terrified that he would lose the only person who had understood him in 10 years. I could have killed you, Liam whispered, his voice cracking. I could have done it 12 times, but I did not. But you kept the file, Soraya whispered back, tears shimmering in her alien eyes. You kept it, Liam. Because I am a soldier, he said, the admission tearing out of him. And I do not know how to be anything else. Then be a soldier, Soraya said, stepping back, her face closed off. The cold mask of the High Commander slammed back into place. Because we are done pretending to be anything more. She turned to the door console. What are you doing? Liam asked. I am leaving, Soraya said. I am returning to the Radiant Paradox. If the humans want a war, I must prepare my ship. If you walk out there, they will arrest you, Liam warned. Let them try, she said. She punched in an override code. The door hissed open. Outside, the corridor was lined with troops. Stand down, Soraya barked, her voice echoing with the authority of the throne. I am returning to my vessel. Any attempt to stop me will be considered an act of war. The human Marines looked at Colonel Riker. Riker looked at Liam. Liam stood in the doorway, the datapad in his hand. He looked at Soraya's retreating back. He could stop her. He could use the kill codes right now. It would end the threat. It would please Vance. He lowered his hand. Let her go, Liam ordered Riker. Sir, she is a suspect. I said let her go, Liam shouted. That is a direct order. Riker signaled his men to lower their weapons. Soraya walked away. She did not look back. But through the bond, Liam felt a wave of crushing, absolute sorrow before she slammed her mental walls shut, severing the connection. The silence in his head was louder than the screaming had been. Commander Cade, Riker said, stepping forward with a pair of stasis cuffs. Admiral Vance wants a word. You are under arrest pending a loyalty tribunal. Liam held out his wrists. Fine. Take me in. He looked down the corridor where Soraya had vanished. The alliance was shattered. The conspiracy was winning. And for the first time in his life, Liam Cade did not care about the war. He only cared that his wife had just walked away, and he had let her go. The interrogation room on Station Concordia was a masterclass in sensory deprivation. The walls were a sterile, matte gray designed to offer the eye no place to rest. The air was recycled so many times it tasted like stale pennies. Liam Cade sat at a metal table that was bolted to the floor, his wrists secured by magnetic cuffs that hummed with a low, threatening frequency. Across from him, Admiral Vance paced like a caged tiger. He slapped a data slate onto the table with a sound like a gunshot. "Sign it," Vance commanded. Liam looked down at the slate. It was a tactical report detailing an unprovoked attack by the Radiant Paradox on a human scout sloop, the UNS Sparrow, in the border sector. The report claimed the Valyri flagship had vaporized the vessel with a particle lance. "I cannot sign this," Liam said, his voice raspy from hours of talking, "because it is a lie." "The sensor logs are right there," Vance hissed, leaning in, his face inches from Liam's. "We have debris. We have thermal echoes." "You have a simulation," Liam countered, meeting the Admiral's gaze without flinching. "I know the Radiant Paradox's firing cycles. I trained on them. The thermal bloom in this report is off by 3%. It is a mathematical impossibility for a Valyri particle lance. This data was cooked, Admiral, and whoever cooked it was sloppy." "It does not matter if it is sloppy," Vance roared, slamming his hand on the table. "It matters that we have a casus belli. The Valyri attempted to assassinate Holloway. Now they are hitting our scouts. The war is restarting. Cade, whether you like it or not, we need this report authenticated by the human officer on board to secure the support of the colonial defense grid. Sign it, and you walk out of here a hero. Refuse, and you are a traitor who colluded with the enemy." Liam looked at the stylus. It would be so easy. Sign the pad. Go back to being a soldier. Forget the woman with the starlight in her skin who had looked at him with such betrayal. He closed his eyes. In the darkness of his mind, the neural bond was a frayed, static-filled line. He could not feel Soraya clearly, just a dull, aching thrum of distance and cold anger. But he knew, with a certainty that defied logic, that she had not fired on that ship. "No," Liam said, pushing the slate away. Vance straightened up. He adjusted his tunic, his expression hardening into something ugly. "Very well. Colonel Riker, take the prisoner to deep detention. Isolate him. We will try again in 24 hours. If he still refuses, charge him with treason and prepare a firing squad." On the bridge of the Radiant Paradox, the atmosphere was brittle enough to snap. High Commander Soraya stood before the main view screen, her hands clasped behind her back to hide the tremors. Sub-Commander Krell stood beside her, looking smug. "The report is confirmed, High Commander," Krell said, his voice oily with false sympathy. "Commander Cade has formally accused you of espionage and provided Earth Command with the access codes to our sensor grid. He has turned. He is a spy, just as the High Advisor warned." Soraya stared at the scrolling text on the screen. It was a confession, signed with Liam's digital key. It detailed how he had seduced her to steal state secrets. It was a lie. She knew it was a lie. She knew it because the neural bond, even stretched thin across the vacuum between the ship and the station, was singing a different song. She did not feel triumph or deceit from Liam. She felt a profound, suffocating despair. She felt physical pain, wrists chafed by metal, the headache of interrogation, the crushing weight of a moral choice made in isolation. He was not betraying her. He was suffering because he refused to. "Order the fleet to break orbit," Krell suggested. We should return to Valeri space and prepare for the human counterattack. No, Soraya said. Krell turned to her, his bioluminescence flushing a dark, angry crimson. You jeopardize the Empire for a pet who has already bitten you? I jeopardize nothing, Soraya said, turning to face him. Her eyes were terrifying voids of violet energy. I am going to retrieve my officer. That is madness, Krell spat. He is in the heart of their station. If you attempt a rescue, it is an act of war. You will be branded a traitor by the throne. Then I will be in good company, Soraya said. She tapped her comms badge. Engineering. Initialize the stealth drive on Shuttle 2. Divert power from the main shielding to mask the launch signature. High Commander? Krell stepped forward, his hand drifting toward his sidearm. I cannot allow you to do that. Soraya moved faster than thought. She did not draw a weapon. She simply lashed out with a wave of kinetic pressure, a biotic strike that slammed Krell backward into the bulkhead. He slid to the deck, unconscious. The bridge crew froze. They looked from their fallen second-in-command to their high commander. I am going to get my husband, Soraya announced, her voice ringing with absolute authority. Anyone who wishes to stop me can join Sub-Commander Krell on the floor. Anyone who wishes to help me prevent a war based on lies. Man your stations. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then, the helmsman turned back to his console. Shuttle 2 is prepped, High Commander, he said. Masking trail. Good hunting. Liam was counting the rivets on the ceiling of his cell when the gravity failed. It did not just turn off, it inverted. 1 second he was sitting on the cot. The next, he was slammed against the ceiling. The guard outside his cell yelped as he hit the ceiling plates with a heavy thud. The red emergency lights began to strobe, but there was no siren, just a strange, resonating hum that vibrated in Liam's teeth. The door to his cell did not open. It dissolved. The metal simply turned into gray dust and drifted away, manipulated by a precise molecular disruption field. A figure floated into the corridor. She was wearing a Valeri stealth suit, a sleek, light-bending armor that made her look like a shadow cut from the air. She wore a full-face helmet that obscured her features, but the glowing blue markings on the armor were unmistakable. She raised a hand, and the guard, still pinned to the ceiling by the localized gravity distortion, was gently rendered unconscious by a stun pulse. She floated toward Liam, who was bracing himself against a light fixture on the ceiling. The helmet retracted. Soraya's face appeared, framed by floating silver hair. She looked fierce, terrified, and beautiful. You look ridiculous, she said. I am not the one walking on the ceiling, Liam shot back, though his heart felt like it was about to burst with relief. I thought you left. I did, Soraya said. She reached out a hand. Then I remembered that I forgot something. What? Liam asked, grabbing her hand. You, she said. She pulled him close. As their skin touched, the neural bonds slammed back into full alignment. The static vanished. The doubt vanished. A rush of pure, unadulterated trust flooded Liam's mind, so intense it made his knees weak. He felt her fear. She was terrified of being caught, but underneath it, a fierce, protective love that burned like a sun. We have 3 minutes before the station's AI overrides my gravity hack, Soraya said, clipping a gravity belt around his waist. We need to move. Where are we going? Liam asked as his feet found the ceiling. Away, she said. The radiant paradox has gone dark to cover us, but we are on our own. We are traitors. Liam, to everyone. Best job offer I have had all day, Liam said. Lead the way, wife. They sprinted along the ceiling of the detention block, stepping over confused guards who were flailing in the inverted gravity. They reached the hangar bay just as the alarms finally began to scream. A squad of human Marines burst through the far doors. "Halt!" Riker screamed, raising his rifle. Liam saw the muzzle flash. He did not think. He shoved Soraya behind a crate, taking a grazing shot to his shoulder plate. "Get to the shuttle!" Liam yelled, returning fire with a stolen pistol. "Not without you!" Soraya shouted. She raised both hands, and the air pressure in the hangar dropped instantly. A gale-force wind, summoned by her biotics, slammed into the Marines, knocking them off their feet. They scrambled up the ramp of the stealth shuttle. As the airlock sealed, Liam slumped into the co-pilot seat. "You call that a subtle extraction?" Liam panted, clutching his shoulder. "I said I would rescue you," Soraya said, her fingers flying over the alien controls. The shuttle engines roared to life. "I did not say I would be quiet about it. Besides, rescuing one's husband is considered basic courtesy in Valyri culture." "Remind me to send a thank you note," Liam groaned. The shuttle blasted out of the hangar bay, tearing through the magnetic containment field and rocketing into the void. Behind them, Station Concordia lit up with weapons fire, but the stealth systems held. They were a ghost in the dark, speeding toward the chaotic, swirling colors of the borderlands. The border zone was a region of space that God had abandoned and the devil had filled with junk. It was a graveyard of the previous war, a dense field of shattered hulks, floating weapon platforms, and unstable spatial anomalies. It was the perfect place to hide, provided the radiation did not cook you first. Soraya piloted the shuttle with a surgeon's precision, weaving between the skeletal remains of dreadnoughts and avoiding the pockets of volatile gas. They flew for 6 hours in tense silence, listening to the comms chatter on both human and Valyri frequencies. Shoot on sight. Traitors Cade and Velir. Reward for their bodies. "There," Soraya whispered, pointing to a massive, hollowed-out asteroid that drifted in the shadow of a binary star system. "That is an old mining outpost, abandoned for decades. The rock contains heavy lead deposits. It will mask our life signs." They landed the shuttle in a cavernous docking bay that smelled of ancient dust and frozen methane. The silence that fell when the engines cut out was heavy and absolute. They were safe, and they were completely exiled. Liam unbuckled his harness. He looked at Soraya. She was staring straight ahead, her hands gripping the controls so hard her knuckles were white. "We cannot go back," she said softly. "I know," Liam said. "My family will strike my name from the lineage," she said, her voice trembling. "I have no home." "Yes, you do," Liam said. He reached over and gently pried her fingers from the yoke. They set up camp in what used to be the foreman's office, a small, pressurized dome within the cavern that still had functioning life support. It was Spartan, dusty, and cold, but it had oxygen and a heater that rattled like a dying engine. Liam sat on a crate, stripping off his armor. His shoulder throbbed where the laser had grazed him, but the wound was cauterized. Soraya stood by the heater, hugging herself. She had removed her stealth armor, wearing only the thin biosuit underneath. Her bioluminescence was dim, flickering with exhaustion. "Why did you come back?" Liam asked quietly. "You could have flown away. You could have claimed I tricked you." Soraya turned to him. "Because I felt you," she said, "in the cell, when they showed you the false report. I felt your anger, not because you were caught, but because they wanted you to lie about me. You chose the truth over your own life." "I could not let them win," Liam said. "The lie was too ugly." "It was more than that," Soraya said. She walked over to him, kneeling on the dusty floor between his legs. She looked up at him, her alien eyes searching his face. Why did you keep the kill code, Liam? The truth? Liam looked down at her. He took a breath that shuddered in his chest. Because I was scared, he admitted. Not of you, of this, of feeling this. He tapped his chest. I lost everyone. Soraya, my squad, my friends. I hollowed myself out because it is easier to survive when there is nothing left to break. When I met you, I wanted to hate you. It would have been simple. But then, the bond, I felt your loneliness. It matched mine, and that terrified me more than the war ever did. Soraya reached up and placed a hand on his cheek. Her skin was cool, but the bond flared warm and golden. I was tested too, she whispered. My father told me that a human could never truly understand honor, that you were animals. I wanted to prove him right. But then you took the shot for me. You saved me from the nanites. You looked at me not as a prize or a monster, but as a person. A very stubborn person, Liam smiled weakly. A very complicated person, she corrected. She leaned her forehead against his. The physical contact sent a cascade of sensation through the neural link. It was not just emotion anymore, it was emerging. The barriers were down. We are not soldiers right now, Soraya murmured. There is no treaty here, no admirals, no emperors, just us. Just us, Liam echoed. The air in the room changed. The desperate adrenaline of the escape faded, replaced by a gravity that pulled them together. Liam, Soraya said, pulling back slightly to look at him. Her markings began to pulse a soft, rhythmic pink, the color of invitation, of vulnerability. I am not ordering you, and I am not asking for a tactical advantage. She took his hand and placed it over the glowing mark on her heart. I am asking you to be my husband, she whispered. For real. Liam looked at her. He saw the scars of her own expectations, the weight of the crown she had thrown away for him. He saw the woman who had flown into a gravity well to save his life. I am yours, Liam said. I have been yours since the hand clasp. I was just too stupid to admit it. He leaned down and kissed her. It was not tentative. It was a collision. It was the breaking of a dam that had been holding back weeks of fear, suspicion, and undeniable attraction. When they moved to the makeshift sleeping pallet in the corner, it was not like the awkward proximity of their ship quarters. It was a desperate, healing tangle of limbs. The neural bond lit up like a supernova. As Liam touched her skin, he did not just feel the texture. He felt her reaction to his touch in her mind. He felt her delight, her relief, her escalating desire. And she felt his. There was no hiding. Every insecurity he had about his scars was met with her wave of acceptance. Every fear she had about being too alien was met with his overwhelming sense of awe at her beauty. It was a feedback loop of sensation. When he kissed the hollow of her throat, he felt the shiver run down her spine as if it were his own. When she arched against him, the pleasure was a shared, resonant chord that vibrated in both their souls. It was intimate in a way that defied human language. It was not just two bodies meeting. It was two minds weaving together, patching the holes the war had left in each of them. They moved slowly, reverently, exploring the map of each other's trauma and healing it with touch. Hours later, the twin suns of the system began to rise, casting long crimson shadows through the cracked dome of the outpost. They lay tangled together under a thermal blanket. The silence was comfortable now, heavy with peace. Soraya traced the line of the scar on Liam's jaw with a long, slender finger. You know, she murmured, a sleepy smile playing on her lips. Technically, you initiated that, which means I win the argument about who has more restraint. Liam laughed, capturing her hand and kissing the palm. I think the statute of limitations on that argument expired when you kidnapped me from a federal prison. It was a rescue, she corrected lazily. And you still owe me for the first time I said, I'm your wife. Touch me now. Liam groaned, rolling his eyes. You are never going to let me live that down, are you? Never, Soraya said, her eyes dancing. It is my favorite story. I shall tell it to our grandchildren. Grandfather was terrified of a little hand-holding. I was terrified of the 6-foot alien warrior princess, Liam defended. And now? She asked, her voice turning serious. Now, Liam said, pulling her closer. I cannot imagine a universe where I am not holding you. Soraya rested her head on his chest. Good. Because we have a lot of work to do. Work? Liam asked. We are fugitives. Liam, we have no money, no ship support, and 2 governments want us dead. We need a plan. I have a plan, Liam said. We survive. We can do better than survive, Soraya said. She sat up, the blanket pooling around her waist. This outpost, why was it abandoned? Mining dried up, I guess, Liam said. No, Soraya said, looking around the room with fresh eyes. Look at the power conduits. They are not industrial. They are military grade. And that terminal over there, that is a high-density server rack. You do not need a server rack to mine lead. Liam sat up, the soldier re-engaging. He walked over to the terminal in the corner. It was covered in dust, but the power light was blinking a steady, ominous red. It is on standby, Liam said. He wiped the screen. Let us see what you are hiding. He bypassed the encryption. It was old, a code base from 20 years ago. The screen flickered to life. Holy hell, Liam whispered. What is it? Soraya asked, coming to stand behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist. It is not a mine, Liam said. It is a listening post and a bank. He scrolled through the logs, the screen filled with transaction records, shipment, plasma coils, destination, Valeri Separatist Front, origin Ares Cartel, shipment, human targeting algorithms, destination, Imperial Guard Black Ops, origin Saltec Dynamics. They were selling to both sides, Soraya breathed, horror dawning in her voice. During the war, human companies selling tech to us, Valeri nobles selling biotech to you. And it did not stop, Liam said, pulling up a recent file. Look at the dates. Last week, the assassination attempt, the sabotage of the Sparrow, and it is all here. The orders came from an AI node listed as Apex. Apex, Soraya said. That is an old Valeri term. It means the top of the food chain. Liam opened a communication log. It was a recorded message between a human admiral, one Liam recognized as Vance's predecessor, and a Valeri Duke. The peace is bad for business. Duke, we need to stimulate demand. The bond program is the perfect stage. We build them up as heroes, then we crash them. A tragic betrayal. The outrage will fuel the war economy for another 50 years. Soraya pulled back, nausea rolling off her in waves through the bond. We were not just pawns. We were the spark. They wanted us to fall in love so they could break us apart and start a massacre. Liam slammed his fist onto the console. They killed my friends for profit. They melted people on Cinder 9 so their stock prices would go up. And they are planning to do it again, Soraya said. The new directive, maximum profit from sustained controlled conflict. They are going to burn the galaxy down and sell the ashes. They stood in silence, the weight of the revelation settling on them. They were alone. They were hunted, but they held the smoking gun. If we broadcast this, Liam said, It will not just stop the war, it will topple the governments. It will cause chaos. Good, Soraya said hard. They deserve chaos. She walked to the cracked dome window. The twin suns were fully risen now, bathing the jagged landscape in harsh, unforgiving light. Liam joined her. He took her hand. The neural bond hummed, strong, clear, and unbreakable. We cannot run anymore, Liam said. No, Soraya agreed. We are done running. She squeezed his hand. We are not fighting for the Empire anymore. Liam, and you are not fighting for Earth. Who are we fighting for? Liam asked. Soraya looked at him, and then out at the stars beyond the dirty glass. For the ones who do not have a voice, she said. For the soldiers they send to die and the families they bomb. We fight for the ordinary lives, and we fight for us. A deliberate mission, Liam nodded. I like the sound of that. Then let us go to work. Husband, Soraya said. We have an empire to dismantle. Liam looked at the woman he loved, his wife, his commander, his partner. The war had tried to make them enemies. The conspiracy had tried to make them martyrs. Instead, it had made them something far more dangerous. It had made them a team. After you, High Commander, Liam said. Soraya smiled, sharp and dangerous. Try to keep up. The communications console in the abandoned mining outpost flickered with a static-laced blue light. It was old technology, analog and clunky, but it was the only thing that could bypass the modern digital blockades the conspirators had erected around the Valyri and human fleets. Signal lock established, Liam said, wiping grime from the screen. Encryption key is rotating. We have maybe 3 minutes before the AI sniffers find us. Soraya stood behind him, her hand resting on his shoulder. Through the neural bond, he felt her steely focus, a cool counterweight to his own adrenaline. She leaned forward and spoke into the microphone. This is High Commander Soraya Velir, authorization code Alpha 9 Zenith. I am calling for the Radiant Paradox. Bridge access only. There was a hiss of white noise, then a voice cut through. It was not Krell. It was the helmsman, Officer Tal. High Commander? Tal's voice was hushed, trembling with disbelief. The fleet has declared you rogue. The kill order is broadcast on every frequency. I know. Tal, Soraya said, listen to me closely. The order is based on false data generated by the Apex node. We have the proof. Is the ship secure? Sub-Commander Krell is detained in the brig, Tal whispered. We had a disagreement regarding your loyalty. The crew is with you, High Commander. But we are being shadowed by 3 Earth destroyers. We cannot move without triggering a firefight. Hold your position, Soraya ordered. We are bringing the truth to the capital. I need you to coordinate with the human vessel UNS Stalwart. Captain Hideo is a friend. Send him the packet I am uploading now. It contains the raw sensor logs from the Sparrow incident. Understood, Tal said. And High Commander, give them hell. The line went dead. Liam exhaled, slumping back in the chair. That is 1 ship, Liam said, against 2 armadas. It is a start, Soraya said. Now we just have to break into the most heavily fortified city in the galaxy, steal a sentient computer core, and broadcast a confession from the Emperor's advisors before they execute us. Sounds like a Tuesday. Liam grinned. The preparation phase was an exercise in cross-species frustration and dark humor. To infiltrate the Valyri capital, they needed to be ghosts. Liam stood in the center of the outpost's hangar, wearing a stolen Valyri stealth rig. It was a suit of kinetic mesh that bent light around the wearer. But the interface was designed for someone with a different nervous system. You are moving like a drunken cargo hauler, Soraya critiqued, circling him. The suit responds to subtle muscle twitches. You are stomping. I am not stomping, Liam protested, taking a step. The suit amplified the movement, sending him skidding 3 meters to the left where he crashed into a crate of dehydrated rations. I am dynamically adjusting. You are loud, Soraya sighed, helping him up. The Valyri stealth doctrine is about flow. Be water. Liam, not a rock. My people are rocks, Liam muttered, rubbing his bruised hip. We are stubborn and dense. That is how we survived the war. Well, try to be a transparent rock, she said. Now, quiz me again. Soraya was practicing human nonverbal communication. It was essential for the infiltration. If they were spotted, she needed to pass as a human mercenary in bulky armor to avoid the immediate recognition her bioluminescence would draw. Okay, Liam said, crossing his arms. I just told you that your plan is incredibly dangerous and likely to get us killed. What is the correct human response? Soraya stood up straight, puffed out her chest, and gave a stiff, formal salute. Wrong, Liam corrected. That is for officers. I am your husband. Try again. Soraya frowned, thinking. Then she slumped her shoulders, rolled her eyes dramatically, and let out a heavy sigh. Fine. Whatever. Liam laughed. Perfect. You have mastered the teenage rebellion. How about the I have no idea what is going on gesture? Soraya raised both hands, palms up, and lifted her shoulders to her ears. The shrug, Liam nodded. The most powerful weapon in the human arsenal. Use it wisely. It was lighthearted, but the undercurrent was serious. They were learning to wear each other's skins. Through the bond, Liam felt Soraya's genuine fascination with the chaotic, expressive nature of humanity. Just as he was learning to appreciate the fluid, silent precision of her people. They were becoming a hybrid unit, not just in tactics, but in spirit, the journey to the Valyri imperial capital. Valyr Prime required them to pass through the scars of the past. The shortest route lay through the Kairos Rift, a sector of space where the laws of physics had been shattered during the early years of the war. Human subspace mines and Valyri gravity bombs had detonated simultaneously, tearing a hole in the fabric of reality that never quite healed. As their stolen shuttle entered the rift, the stars outside stretched into long, bleeding streaks of light. The navigation console screamed warnings about gravitational shear. Keep your eyes on the instruments, Soraya warned, her hands flying over the controls. Do not look out the window. Liam looked. He could not help it. Outside, in the swirling purple fog of the rift, he saw ghosts. He saw the UNS Kestrel, a ship he had served on 10 years ago. It was drifting silently, its hull torn open, bodies floating in the vacuum. He saw himself in the window of the Kestrel, younger, unscarred, his face twisted in hate as he fired a railgun into a Valyri medical frigate. That is not real, Liam whispered, gripping the armrests. It is a temporal echo. It is guilt, Soraya said softly. Her eyes were fixed on the void. I see them too. I see the colony on Agate 4. I ordered the orbital bombardment. I was so proud. I thought I was bringing order. Through the neural bond, the visions bled together. Liam felt Soraya's shame at the burning cities. Soraya felt Liam's rage at the dead squads. The rift was forcing them to relive their worst moments, amplifying the patriotic lies they had been fed. We were monsters, Liam said, his voice thick. We were soldiers, Soraya corrected, her voice straining as she fought the shuttle against a gravity wave. We did what we were told, but we are not them anymore. Look at me. Liam. He turned to her. In the strobe light of the cockpit, her markings were glowing a fierce, steady blue. We are not the past, she said. We are the future. Do not let the ghosts fly the ship. Liam closed his eyes, focusing on the warmth of the bond, the steady heartbeat of the woman beside him. He pushed the image of the burning frigate out of his mind. Course corrected, Liam said, grabbing the co-pilot yoke. Let us get out of this graveyard. They punched through the other side of the rift, gasping as the stars snapped back into focus. They were sweating, shaken, but they had come through it together. They had looked at their sins and chosen to keep moving. Velir Prime was a planet of silver spires and hanging gardens, a testament to a civilization that had mastered biology and architecture. But Liam and Soraya did not land at the spaceport. They landed in the Undercity. Here, far below the gleaming towers where the sunlight rarely reached, the machinery of the Empire churned. The air smelled of exhaust and desperation. They moved through the crowded markets, hooded and cloaked. Liam saw Valyri civilians with dull, gray skin, a sign of malnutrition and lack of sunlight. He saw propaganda holograms projected onto every wall. Humanity, the scourge, protect the bloodline, report sympathizers. He saw a Valyri mother pulling her child away from a news screen showing footage of the treacherous Liam Cade. The child looked terrified. I thought your people were all wealthy, Liam whispered. The way the diplomats talk. The diplomats live in the spire, Soraya said, her voice bitter. These are the workers. The war taxes bled them dry. They are told that humans want to come here and eat their children. Fear keeps them working. Fear keeps them loyal. It is the same on Earth, Liam admitted. The outer colonies are starving, but the news just talks about the Valyri threat. They starve us, so we are desperate enough to enlist. We are being played, Soraya said. All of us. They met their contact in the back room of a synthetic noodle bar. It was a disgracefully diverse group, a disgraced Valyri scientist, a human deserter who ran a smuggling ring, and two of Soraya's former guards who had gone rogue. The plan was drawn in the air with holographic light. Team Alpha, Soraya pointed to the smuggler. You take the broadcast relay charges to the Imperial Palace roof. You have to jam the local signal so our transmission overrides the planetary net. Team Beta, she pointed to the guards. Secure the shipyard docking clamps. When the truth comes out, the Loyalists will try to launch interceptors. Keep them grounded. And us? Liam asked. We are going into the Lion's Den, Soraya said. The Central Archives. That is where the Apex node is housed. It is the brain of the conspiracy. We need to physically extract the core. The infiltration of the archives required a performance. The building was a fortress of glass and biotic sensors. To get past the outer checkpoint, they could not sneak. They had to walk in through the front door. Soraya wore her full High Commander regalia, though it was torn and scorched from their escape. Liam was in stasis cuffs, battered and looking defeated. Remember, Soraya whispered through the bond as they approached the guards. You are a prisoner. I captured you. I am bringing you in for personal interrogation by the High Advisor. I know the drill, Liam projected back. Try not to break my arm for real. No promises. They marched up to the checkpoint. The guards, imposing warriors in ceremonial armor, crossed their energy staves. Halt! The lead guard barked. High Commander Soraya, you are listed as a fugitive. I am listed as a hero who went deep undercover, Soraya snapped, channeling every ounce of her imperial arrogance. She yanked Liam's chain, sending him stumbling to his knees. I have captured the human spy, Liam Cade. I have extracted the confession. I am bringing him to High Advisor Kalen personally. Liam glared up at the guards, spitting on the floor. Your commander is a liar. She tricked me. The guard hesitated. He looked at Liam's hatred, then at Soraya's imperious glare. The lie was perfect because the emotion was real, not hatred, but the intensity of their connection masked as conflict. "Pass," the guard said, stepping aside. "Glory to the throne." They walked into the grand atrium. It was filled with functionaries and minor nobles. "Move, filth," Soraya said loudly, shoving Liam toward the turbo lift. Through the bond, her voice was a whisper. "I am sorry. Did I push too hard?" "You are a natural," Liam thought back. "It is kind of terrifying." They reached the server level. The corridors were empty here, cooled to sub-zero temperatures to preserve the biological servers. "Drop the act," Soraya said, melting Liam's cuffs with a code key. Liam rubbed his wrists. "Apex is behind that door." They breached the door. The room was a vast circular chamber dominated by a pulsing red crystalline structure, the Apex node. It was humming with malevolent energy, processing trillions of bytes of data, fake news reports, forged orders, manipulated bank transfers. "Jack in," Soraya ordered, handing Liam the data spike. "I will watch the door." Liam ran to the console. He jammed the spike in. "Downloading the core logic. This thing is deep. It has roots in the Earth defense grid, too. It has been running both sides for 20 years. "Hurry," Soraya said. The door behind them hissed open. "I am afraid," a smooth, cultured voice said, "that the download will have to be cancelled." Liam and Soraya spun around. Standing there was High Advisor Kalen, Soraya's mentor, a man who had taught her strategy since she was a child. Flanking him was a squadron of elite Imperial Guard, and beside him stood Admiral Thorne. Liam's breath caught. Thorne was a legend, the hero of the Battle of Mars, the man Liam had modeled his entire career after. "Admiral?" Liam whispered. "Commander Cade," Thorne said, looking at him with disappointed eyes. He looked older, tired, but his uniform was impeccable. "You were supposed to be a martyr, son, not a nuisance." "You are part of this?" Liam asked, his voice breaking. You wrote the book on honor." "Honor is a luxury for peacetime," Thorne said. "War is an economy. Liam, it keeps the colonies employed. It keeps the technology advancing. Without the Valyri threat, humanity would turn on itself in a decade. We need the monster at the door. And we need the barbarian at the gate," Kalen added, looking at Soraya. "Peace makes us soft. Daughter, conflict purifies the bloodline. We arranged this marriage to create a tragedy that would ignite a holy war to last another generation." "You are not purifying anything," Soraya said, her hands igniting with biotic fire. "You are just selling graves." "Kill them," Kalen ordered. The room erupted. Liam dove behind a server bank as plasma fire chewed up the floor. Soraya stood her ground, raising a barrier of hard light that deflected the volley. "Liam, flank right," Soraya shouted. The battle that followed was a chaotic, desperate dance. They were outnumbered 10-1, but they had something the guards did not. They were one mind in two bodies. Soraya moved like liquid, deflecting shots and flinging guards into the walls with telekinetic blasts. Liam moved like a hammer, using the stolen Valyri assault rifle to suppress the enemy, covering Soraya's blind spots before she even knew they were there. They fought back to back in the center of the room. "Reloading!" Liam yelled. Soraya spun, covering him with a sheet of ice that froze two guards in place. Liam snapped a fresh power cell in and fired through the ice, shattering them. Admiral Thorne stepped forward, wielding a heavy plasma cannon. He aimed at the server bank. "If I cannot have the data, no one can," Thorne shouted. "No!" Liam sprinted from cover. He tackled the Admiral. They crashed to the floor, two generations of soldiers grappling for the weapon. Thorn was strong, cybernetically enhanced, and he threw Liam off. Thorn raised the cannon at Liam's chest. I am sorry. Liam. A bolt of violet energy slammed into Thorn, knocking him sideways. Soraya stood there, her hand smoking. Do not touch my husband, she snarled, but Kaelin was waiting. While Soraya was distracted saving Liam, her mentor raised a slender, ornate pistol, a neural disruptor. You always were too emotional, Soraya, Kaelin said. He fired. The beam was silent. It was aimed squarely at Soraya's heart. Liam saw it. The bond screamed a warning, not a word, but a sensation of impending darkness. He did not think. He did not calculate. He moved. Liam threw himself into the path of the beam. It hit him in the chest. It was not a burn. It was a scream. The neural disruptor tore through his nervous system, overloading every synapse with the sensation of being flayed alive. Liam hit the ground. He did not move. Liam! The scream that tore from Soraya's throat shattered the glass servers in the room. Through the bond, she felt it all. She felt his agony. She felt his heart stutter and stop, then restart in a jagged, failing rhythm. She felt the cold encroaching on his mind. And then, she felt the red. It was a primal, ancestral rage. The Valyri were predators before they were builders, and Soraya was the apex of her line. Her vision turned crimson. The bioluminescence on her skin shifted from blue to a blinding, violent white. She turned to Kaelin. The High Advisor took a step back, fear finally breaking his composure. Soraya, control yourself. Soraya did not speak. She raised her hands. The gravity in the room increased tenfold. The guards dropped to their knees, their armor crushing them. She began to crush the air out of Kaelin's lungs. She wanted to pop him like a grape. She wanted to tear this building down brick by brick and bury them all. Kill them, the rage whispered. Kill them all. She tightened her grip. Kaelin clawed at his throat, his eyes bulging. Then, a faint, weak signal drifted through the bond. Soraya. It was Liam. He was barely conscious, fading fast, but he was there. Do not lose yourself. Soraya froze. She looked at Kaelin, gasping and dying in the air. She looked at the terrified guards. She remembered the asteroid. She remembered the promise. We fight for the ordinary lives. If she killed them all in a rage, she was just the monster they claimed she was. She was the war. With a shuddering breath, Soraya released the gravity. Kaelin collapsed to the floor, gasping. I am not you, Soraya whispered. She spun around and grabbed the data core from the console. Then she ran to Liam. He was pale, his eyes unfocused, blood trickling from his nose. Hey, he rasped, coughing. Did we win? Not yet, Soraya said, tears streaming down her face. She slid her arms under him. Hold on to me, Liam. Do not you dare let go. She lifted him. He was heavy, dead weight, but she channeled every ounce of her biotic strength into her muscles. We have to get to the broadcast chamber, she said. She ran. She ran through the corridors, blasting doors open with kinetic strikes. She ignored the guards who fired at her, her personal shield flaring and sparking. She ran until her lungs burned and her heart hammered against her ribs. They reached the central broadcast chamber. It was a massive amphitheater where the holographic projectors were already warming up for the peace ceremony. Soraya kicked the doors open. She laid Liam gently on the floor near the central podium. Stay with me, she commanded him. She slammed the apex core into the primary port. Override, she screamed at the interface. Authorization Soraya Valyr. Emergency protocol. Truth. The massive holographic screens above the capital, and relayed to every ship in orbit and every screen on Earth, flickered. The image of the Emperor froze. Then, Soraya's face appeared. She was disheveled. Her armor was cracked, covered in dust and Liam's blood. She looked wild and dangerous. "People of the Empire," she began, her voice shaking but amplifying across the planet. "Citizens of Earth." She grabbed the camera drone and turned it. She pointed it at Liam, who was lying on the floor, bleeding, clutching his chest. "This is Commander Liam Cade," she said. "He is a human. He was my enemy, and he just took a bullet meant for me." She turned back to the camera. "You have been told that we are monsters. You have been told that this war is necessary for survival. You have been lied to." She initiated the data dump. Streams of documents, recordings, and bank transfers began to scroll rapidly on the screens behind her. The faces of Kaelin, Thorn, and the arms dealers appeared, along with their crimes. "These are the architects of your suffering," Soraya shouted. "They sold our children for profit. They staged the attacks. They tried to turn my marriage into a murder weapon." She walked over to Liam and knelt, pulling his head into her lap, visible to the entire galaxy. "I was ordered to kill him," Soraya said, her voice dropping to a fierce whisper that echoed in the silence of a billion living rooms. "I was ordered to hate him. But I chose differently." She looked directly into the lens. "He is not my prisoner. He is not my treaty obligation. He is my husband. And we choose peace. Not the peace written by politicians, but the peace built by two people who refuse to kill each other." She pointed a trembling finger at the camera. "Kaelin. Thorn. The game is over. We see you." The doors to the chamber exploded inward. Security forces in heavy armor stormed in, weapons raised. "Cut the feed," a commander shouted. Soraya threw herself over Liam's body, her biotic shield flaring one last time, a fragile dome of light against the incoming storm. "I love you," Liam whispered, his eyes rolling back. "I know," Soraya sobbed, holding him tight as the soldiers advanced. The screen went black. The broadcast feed cut out, plunging the galaxy into static, but the damage was already done. In the streets of the Valyri capital, the silence that followed Soraya's revelation was heavier than the hum of the atmospheric shields. It was the silence of a billion people realizing they had been played. Then, the shouting started. It began in the Undercity, a roar of vindication from the workers, and rose like a tide to the silver spires. Imperial guards threw down their staves. Crowds surged toward the palace gates, not to tear them down, but to demand answers. Inside the central broadcast chamber, the standoff was absolute. The security team that had breached the doors stood frozen, weapons raised but wavering. They had seen the data. They had seen the High Commander, the daughter of the throne, shielding a human with her own body. "Stand down!" Soraya roared, her voice cracking with exhaustion. She was still kneeling over Liam, her hands pressed against the smoking burn on his chest. Her personal shield flickered and died, its battery drained. "The data is public. If you fire now, you are not soldiers. You are executioners for a criminal cabal." The lead captain hesitated. His helmet optics scanned the scrolling evidence on the massive screens above them. Bank transfers authorized by his own superiors. Kill orders signed by heroes he worshipped. But the conspirators had one move left. High in the orbital grid, the apex node, the AI core Liam and Soraya had tried to hijack, detected the breach. It analyzed the threat to its primary objective, the perpetuation of conflict. It determined that the current leadership was compromised. It initiated the fail-safe. Protocol scorched Earth engaged. The mechanical voice of the building's PA system announced, "Civilian population deemed hostile. Fleet loyalty compromised. Sanitization of the capital and orbital assets initiated." The ground shook. Deep beneath the city, massive anti-orbital cannons began to swivel, not toward the stars, but toward the city districts and the mixed fleet hovering above. "They are going to level the board," Liam gasped, clutching Soraya's wrist. His skin was gray, sweat beading on his forehead. "If they cannot control the game, they flip the table." "We need to leave," Soraya said, trying to lift him. "We need to get to a medic." "No time," Liam wheezed. He looked at the Apex console, which was now flashing angry crimson patterns. "The AI is locked in a logic loop. It is going to fire in 4 minutes. The only way to stop it is from the inside." "Liam." "No," Soraya said, seeing the look in his eyes. "I have the interface spike," Liam said, fumbling for the data port on his wrist. "My nervous system. It is already fried by the disruptor. The bond. It acts like a bridge. I can jack in. I can force a reboot." "It will kill you," Soraya shouted, grabbing his hand to stop him. "Your mind is barely holding together. If you connect to a hostile AI, it will wipe you. It will erase everything you are." "If I do not," Liam argued, his voice weak but fierce. "Millions die, your people, my people. They are going to burn it all. Soraya, you taught me. You taught me that love is action. It is not just a feeling. It is doing the hard thing." "I will not trade you for a symbol," Soraya cried, tears spilling over her bioluminescent markings, which were pulsing a frantic, terrified white. "I just got you back. I will not be a widow to save an empire that hates us." "We are not saving the empire," Liam whispered. "We are saving the people who live in it." He tried to pull away, to reach the console, but he was too weak. Soraya held him fast. She looked at the flashing countdown. 3 minutes. The floor vibrated as the kinetic cannons charged. She looked at the man she loved, broken, bleeding, and utterly unwilling to let the world burn. She realized he was right, and she realized that if he went in alone, he would die alone. "We go together," Soraya said suddenly. Liam blinked, his vision blurring. "What?" "The bond," Soraya said. She ripped a cable from the console and modified the connector with a biotic pulse, fusing 2 inputs. "It connects our minds. If we jack in together, we share the load, your human adaptability. My Valyri discipline. We reinforce each other. Soraya, if the AI crashes, it takes us both," Liam warned. "We could end up lobotomized, or dead." "Then we end up together," Soraya said. She lay down next to him on the cold floor, amidst the debris of the battle. She took his hand, intertwining their fingers so tightly it hurt. "I am your wife, Liam Cade. Where you go, I go, even into the dark." She plugged the cable into her own neural port, then jammed the secondary spike into his. "Initiating link," she whispered. The world dissolved. There was no transition. One moment they were on the floor of the broadcast chamber. The next, they were standing in a void of screaming white data. It was not a physical place, but their minds interpreted the code as sensory input. The wind roared like a hurricane, composed of billions of stolen conversations and forged orders. The ground beneath them was shifting glass, reflecting distorted images of their lives. "Stay close," Soraya shouted, her voice echoing in the digital storm. She looked down at herself. She was wearing her armor, but it was pristine, shining like a star. Liam stood beside her, his wounds gone, wearing his dress uniform. "It is the Apex defense system," Liam yelled over the noise. "It knows we are here. It is trying to separate us." The white void shattered. Suddenly, Liam was back in the trenches of Cinder 9. The sky was choking with green mist. He held a rifle in his hands. But the enemy charging at him was not a faceless soldier. It was Soraya. She was charging him with a blade of pure energy, her face twisted into a mask of alien hatred. She looked exactly like the monster the propaganda had told him she was. "She never loved you," the AI whispered in Liam's ear. "She was using you, a pet, a pawn. Kill her before she kills you. It is your nature." Liam raised the rifle. His military training screamed at him to fire. The target was acquiring. The threat was lethal. "Liam!" The real Soraya's voice cut through the illusion, but she was nowhere to be seen. Liam looked at the charging Soraya. He looked at her eyes. They were cold, dead things. They lacked the spark, the intelligence, the warmth he had felt when they lay together on the asteroid. "You are a bad copy," Liam said to the illusion. He lowered the rifle and dropped it. "My wife," Liam shouted into the smoke, "is a terrible cook, and she snores when she is stressed." The illusion faltered. The charging Soraya stumbled, her face flickering like a bad hologram. "And," Liam continued, walking toward the blade, "she risked treason to save my life. You are just code." He reached out and touched the blade. It shattered into pixels. The trench dissolved. Liam stood back in the void, and Soraya was there, clutching his arm. She was shaking. I saw you," she gasped. "You were signing the order to execute me. You were laughing with Admiral Vance. You called me a trophy." "I would never," Liam said, gripping her shoulders. "You know that?" "I know," she said, steadying herself. "But the AI, it knows our insecurities. It knows I am terrified that I am not enough for you, that I am too alien." "You are exactly the right amount of alien," Liam said. "Now, where is the core?" They looked up. In the distance, a tower of black iron rose from the data sea. It was the central directive, the algorithm. They ran toward it. The landscape tried to stop them. It threw fire, gravity wells, and walls of static. But they moved as one entity. When Soraya faltered, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data, Liam used his human stubbornness to anchor her. When Liam's mind threatened to fracture under the alien complexity of the code, Soraya used her mental discipline to shield him. They reached the tower. It was a monolith of scrolling text. Directive: maximize profit. Method: sustained controlled conflict. Current status: asset liquidation. "It is just math," Liam said, staring at the cold logic that had killed his friends. "It does not hate us. It just calculated that our deaths were worth 3.5% on the quarterly margin." "Let us change the equation," Soraya said. She placed her hands on the monolith. Liam placed his over hers. They poured themselves into the machine. Not code, not hacking scripts. They poured them. They showed the AI the fear of the soldiers dying in the mist. They showed it the grief of the mothers in the Undercity. They showed it the moment in the airlock when they realized they were on the same side. They showed it the touch on the asteroid, the raw, undeniable proof that two opposing forces could create something new. "Overwrite," Soraya commanded. The AI fought back. It screamed with the voice of 1,000 politicians. "Profit is order. Peace is stagnation." "Peace is hard," Liam shouted back, driving his will into the system. "Peace is messy, but it is the only way we survive." They focused on a single new instruction, a simple, radical morality to replace the profit motive. New directive: prioritize the long-term survival and well-being of all sentient citizens. The black tower shuddered. Cracks of gold light appeared in the iron. The screaming wind died down, calculating. The AI boomed. Conflict reduces survival probability. Asset liquidation canceled. New parameters accepted. The world turned white again. But this time, it was a warm, silent white. "We did it," Liam whispered, his avatar fading. "Time to wake up," Soraya said, holding him as they dissolved. Liam woke up screaming. The pain in his chest was back, sharp and brutal. He was back in the broadcast chamber. The smell of ozone and burnt circuitry filled the air. "He is back! Get a medic!" Hands were grabbing him. He thrashed, panic surging. "Liam, Liam, I am here!" Soraya's face swam into view. She was hovering over him, weeping openly. She looked exhausted, her nose bleeding, but she was alive. "The guns?" Liam gasped, grabbing her collar. "Stopped," Soraya sobbed, laughing through the tears. "They stopped. The cannons powered down. The ships are standing by. The AI, it broadcast the kill codes for the conspirators instead of the missiles. They are being arrested. Kalen is in irons." Liam let his head fall back against the floor. We broke the game. "We broke the game," Soraya agreed, kissing his forehead. Then the darkness took him. But this time, it was just sleep. The aftermath was not clean. Revolutions never are. The days that followed were a blur of medical tanks, legal briefs, and political firestorms. The evidence Soraya and Liam had released was irrefutable. It toppled the Valeri High Council. It caused the resignation of half the Earth Defense Directorate. There were riots, but they were riots of reform, not race. Humans and Valeri marched together in the Undercity, demanding the removal of the warmongers. 6 weeks later, the tribunals began. They were held on Station Concordia, in the same hall where the assassination attempt had taken place. Soraya stood before the joint panel of judges. She wore no armor. She wore a simple white robe, her markings dim and respectful. She refused legal counsel. "High Commander," the Valeri judge asked, "you are charged with treason, unauthorized use of imperial assets, and breaking the chain of command. How do you plead?" "Guilty," Soraya said clearly. A murmur went through the gallery. "I am guilty of obeying orders that were immoral," Soraya continued, her voice steady. "I am guilty of looking at a human and seeing a target instead of a soul. I was complicit in the system that built this war. I thought I was a patriot, but I was just a weapon. I broke the law to save the truth. If that is treason, then I am a traitor. But I will not apologize for saving my husband. And I will not apologize for stopping the slaughter." She looked at the cameras. "I surrender my rank. I surrender my titles. Do with me what you will." The silence was profound. She had stripped herself of all defenses, and in doing so, she had become untouchable. Then it was Liam's turn. He stood in his dress uniform, his arm in a sling, looking thin but unbowed. "Commander Cade," the human judge said, "you colluded with a foreign power." "I colluded with my wife," Liam corrected. He turned to look at the audience, at the rows of human and Valeri faces. "They told me I was a symbol," Liam said. "A symbol of unity. But they wanted me to be a hood ornament. They wanted a picture, not a marriage. Because a real marriage requires consent. It requires trust. And it requires seeing the other person as a complete human being. Or Valeri being." He looked at Soraya, who was watching him from the defendant's box. "I hated her," Liam admitted, "because it was easier than facing my own pain. But she taught me that the enemy is not the person holding the gun across the trench. The enemy is the fear that put the gun in their hand. We chose love over fear. That is the only treaty that matters." The verdict took 3 days. Execution was off the table. The public would have burned the station down. Exile was considered but deemed wasteful. The compromise was unprecedented. "Liam Cade and Soraya Veller," the head magistrate read. You have proven that you cannot be controlled by either military. Therefore, you shall serve neither. You are hereby stripped of your commissions. You are appointed as joint ambassadors to the border zone. Your task is to oversee the dismantling of the war infrastructure and to facilitate the integration of our peoples. You broke the world. Now you will fix it. It was a life sentence of hard work. It was the best news they had ever heard. 1 year later, the apartment was small, cluttered, and smelled faintly of burnt spices. It was located in the upper levels of a rebuilt mining colony in the border zone, overlooking a starport that was busy with trade ships, not warships. You are doing it wrong, Liam said, leaning against the counter with a glass of wine. I am following the recipe, Soraya insisted, frowning at the bubbling pot of blue sludge on the stove. It says simmer until fragrant. It is fragrant, Liam noted. It smells like a burning tire factory. It is a traditional Vellery delicacy, Soraya argued, waving a spoon at him. Your unrefined palate is the problem. You people eat toast, burnt bread. That is your cultural peak. Toast is reliable, Liam said. Toast does not threaten to achieve sentience and attack you. He walked over and wrapped his arms around her waist from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. Let us order takeout. Soraya sighed, leaning back into him. Fine, but I am picking the place. As long as it is not the place with the tentacle soup, Liam said. It is calamari, you baby. They stood there for a moment, swaying slightly to the music playing from the terminal. The war was over. The conspiracy was dead. They had spent the day negotiating water rights for a mixed-species colony. A boring, tedious, wonderful day of bureaucracy. Soraya turned in his arms, looping her hands around his neck. Her markings were a soft, contented pink. You know, husband, she said, a wicked glint in her violet eyes. You still owe me? Liam raised an eyebrow. Owe you for what? I did the laundry. For the first time, she whispered, stepping closer, her voice dropping to that imperious command tone she saved for special occasions. When I said, I'm your wife, touch me now. Liam laughed, the sound warm and easy. I seem to recall you were terrified when you said that. I was commanding, she corrected haughtily. You were shaking, Liam teased. I was trembling with anticipation, she lied smoothly. Liam tightened his grip on her waist, pulling her flush against him. The neural bond hummed, not with the jagged static of the past, or the desperate adrenaline of the war, but with a steady golden rhythm of pure belonging. Well, Liam whispered, leaning down until his lips brushed her ear. We are off duty. The galaxy is saved, and no one is watching. Good, Soraya breathed. Then you have no excuse to disobey. Later, the twin moons of the border world rose high and silver in the night sky. Liam and Soraya stood on the balcony, the cool wind tugging at their clothes. Below them, the starport was a hive of activity. 2 ships were preparing for launch. One was a blocky utilitarian earth freighter. The other was a sleek, pearlescent Vellery science vessel. They watched as the engines fired. Blue plasma and orange chemical rockets mixed in the air, creating a chaotic, beautiful plume of light. The ships did not fly in formation. Exactly. They flew side by side, a little clumsy, a little out of sync, but climbing toward the same stars. Liam rested his hand on the railing. Soraya placed her hand over his, her long, slender fingers interlaced with his scarred ones. The bioluminescence on her wrist pulsed in time with the watch on his. They did not speak. They did not need to. The bond carried the silence between them like a promise. The uncertain future stretched out before them, vast and dark and full of stars. But for the first time in history, they were not facing it alone. They watched the ships vanish into the black, their hands holding on tight, ready for whatever came next.